I was in the professional wrestling ring. I was clotheslined in the middle of the ring. I got hit in the throat and basically heard like a crack immediately. The minute that happened, I started floating out of my body and I saw myself dead in the ring. And in the moment, I freaked out. Now, because I'm experienced in out-of-body exploration, when this happened, the initial thought was, oh, I'm out of my body. I think what felt a little bit more panicky to me was the fact that I couldn't get back in my body. So in the moment that it happened, I saw that I'm flying over my body. I see myself laying down and I immediately start trying to dive back into my body. And I was doing every single technique I know. I'm in my body. I'm awake. I was trying everything. And as I was trying to dive into my body, I kept floating out like this, where it just wasn't happening. And I was really, really frustrated. And then I started to panic that I was dead. In the moment of that happening, I felt my angel next to me and I heard "not yet." And the minute I heard "not yet," I got slapped across the face and I ended up back in my body again.
Well, hello, Jamin Olivencia. Welcome to the show. I'm truly honored by you joining me and looking forward to our conversation. How are you feeling today?
Hey, Brad, I'm happy to be alive, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great. I think everyone's happy to be alive today and all those watching. You know, every week we bring you powerful stories about life after death, awakening, and what it means to be human. And if that resonates, you'll love what's coming. Now, today I'm joined by Jamin Olivencia, a former WWE, which is World Wrestling Entertainment for you guys out there. And he was a wrestler who experienced a powerful near-death experience in the ring, launched into a multidimensional journey of self-discovery, and now guides others as a personal development and business coach. Now, his story is raw, surprising, and full of insights about OBEs, which are out-of-body experiences, and IBEs, which are in-body experiences, and NDEs, which are near-death experiences. We got them all today. He also covers spiritual warriors, shadow beings, and the unseen forces guiding our lives. So, Jamin, welcome to the show. It's good to be alive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, here we are. Another day in paradise. I'm breathing. And as long as we're breathing, we're winning, aren't we?
Well, we're breathing on this side, on this physical manifestation side, right? But I know today we're going to talk a lot about the other side. Maybe that's one of the questions. Do we breathe on the other side? You know, but hold off on that. We got more questions coming. So, you know, today's great because I know you have these OBEs all the time, which is so amazing, and I want to hear all about them. And that caused you, you know, in this ring to have this NDE, and you're going to share that experience and so much more. And so I've got all sorts of questions because I'm familiar with the story, and this is going to be the most exciting hour I think I've had in a long time. So welcome to the show. I want to give you the stage and the microphone. You know, those are yours to tell your story. And as soon as I feel a pause coming, I'm going to jump right in. You've been warned.
All right. Sounds great. Hey, come on in whenever you want. This is a human-to-human conversation. Let's find some answers together.
Excellent. Well, can't wait to hear, and I'm sure the audience is just the same. Take it away.
All right. Well, yeah, guys, my name is Jamin Olivencia. I'm a semi-retired professional wrestler, and I'm a business coach, as Brad mentioned, and also a personal development coach. Yeah, the life I live is extraordinary. I am very grateful every single day to be alive. It's something that's been instilled in me by my mother, and I give her a lot of the credit. Well, let's just jump right into it, shall we? So, okay, let's talk about NDE for a second. So I have had an NDE in my life, and I was in the professional wrestling ring. And for those of you who don't know me or have seen my other content, I was clotheslined in the middle of the ring. That means someone brings out their arm and they hit you across the chest with it. In this case, I got hit in the throat and basically heard like a crack immediately. The minute that happened, I started floating out of my body and I saw myself dead in the ring. And in the moment, I freaked out. Now, I'm giving you guys kind of a precursor into out-of-body. So in the moment that it happened, because I'm experienced in out-of-body exploration, when this happened, the initial thought was, oh, I'm out of my body. I was already very conscious and understanding of what this was. I think what felt a little bit more panicky to me was the fact that I couldn't get back in my body. So in the moment that it happened, I saw that I'm flying over my head, or I'm flying over my body. I see myself laying down and I immediately start trying to dive back into my body. And I was doing every single technique I know, body, get in my body. I'm in my body. I'm awake. I was trying everything. And as I was trying to dive into my body, I kept floating out like this. So it was kind of like a wave where it just wasn't happening. And I was really, really frustrated. And then I started to panic that I was dead. In the moment of that happening, I perceive this as an angel or a spirit guide or whatever words we want to use to describe it. But I felt my angel next to me, and I heard "not yet." And the minute I heard "not yet," I got slapped across the face, and I ended up back in my body again. And that was an interesting circumstance for me because I think it was the first time in my adult life I didn't feel in control of something when I left my body, and that was unique. So when I hear people talk about NDEs, I always in my head kind of equated it. Oh, it's probably an OBE, but just near death, so it's a little different. In this case, it was really interesting because I felt locked out of my body, and that brought a type of panic and fear. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Some of my theories around it, but in the moment, yeah, that was a scary experience. But I came back and finished the match. And when I watched it back, what was fascinating about it, the time that I was trying to get back into my body felt like minutes at a time. But watching it back, I was probably on the ground for like, I don't know, 20 seconds. Like it was super quick. So it's interesting how time is warped almost too when you're in physical reality. And that was just a lesson for me. That was back in, I want to say 2008, 2007, 2008. So I was a little younger then, but it was quite the experience.
It's amazing how you describe that because you're right. Oftentimes we have folks that have NDEs, near death experience. And what's interesting about that, they don't have all the experience you do with the OBA. They don't have that at all. So they got in a car crash or an accident, some form of accident or a heart attack, and it knocked them out. But when your body is under that kind of stress and you're dying, or maybe you did die, the spirit of the soul gets kicked out and there is no way back in. It sounded like interesting. You say, I'm not in control, I'm locked out. Yeah, because your body could have died in the ring. And then guess what? Well, and by the way, one day, Jamin, you're going to go.
Yeah,
and when you
yeah.
do, you can't get back in, right? So you're so used to the OBE where it's like a swinging door, hey, this is fun. And then when you actually had the NDE, it was kind of a wake up call to say, one day this is going to kick you out and you don't have control of getting back in. But fortunately, your spirit guides came in and said, hold on, what's the mix up? You're not supposed to be dying now. Get back in there and continue life. So that is the coolest explanation of those two sorts of things.
And what's interesting about it too is when I got slapped across my face, I felt it. So when you're not in your body, you're not feeling sensations the same as you would if you were awake. You do feel sensations, but it's different. Okay, it's the best way I could describe it. And in this case, I felt that slap. It felt, felt like a human slapped me. It was super hard and it hurt. So I thought that was an interesting level of information that I think I added to the repertoire of life through that experience.
Well, my question there would be, were you kind of half in and half out? Did you have one leg in the outside world, one leg on the inside? So you weren't all the way back in, but you felt the slap, which is what was transitioning back into the body.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I'll start into. I think this is a good segue into my out of body experiences. So when I was younger, I started experiencing out of bodies very young. I don't know, 4 or 5, and in the very beginning, it was very stressful for me to understand it because I was having it all the time. It didn't matter. I could take a nap. I can go to bed at night. I was experiencing out of bodies where I would find myself. Well, okay, let me go backwards. I'd find myself sleeping in bed, waking up. They call this the sleep paralysis state. And I would feel something breathing on me. It was almost like breathing on my neck. Sometimes as gross as it sounds, it felt like someone was humping me. Sometimes I felt like I was being choked. Sometimes I felt like something was sitting on my chest. And it was these shadow figures. Uh, at the time, I didn't understand how to navigate this position I was in, but I would go to my mother and I would say, "Hey, I'm having these experiences. I'm having these dreams." That's what I'd call them. I'd say, "I'm having these dreams. I don't know what to do." My mom would always say, "Just stare at it. Just like stare at them." And I'd say, "Okay, yeah." In my mind, I'm thinking, "Easy for you to say. That's really scary, mom." And it took me years to get used to it, but it would happen all the time. Now, let me give you some backstory about me. I was born with spinal meningitis. The doctors told my mother I'd be mentally handicapped and, wouldn't be able to understand information or comprehend or read. They told me this is most likely the situation. I'm a twin, so my twin came out as a genius. I came out as kind of like Dumbo, and my mother though. So they're telling my mom all these issues with me. I'm going to get tested. They probably said I had everything under the spectrum. You could call it autism. You can call it ADHD. He's going to have all these things. So my mother decided not to put me on any medication. My mother, who was very spiritual, believed in meditation. She believed in that we can heal ourselves. And so she taught me the power of prayer, and she taught me the power of meditation. At a young age, it was super boring. She's sitting there making you do deep breaths in a corner for 5 minutes, closing your eyes or praying or saying something, just being with yourself. She always believed in that. And I really have to give her a lot of credit, because it wasn't until I'll fast forward and then I'm going to go backwards again. It wasn't until I was like 16 where like information just started sticking to me. So it took me a long time to get there, but I saw the power of like what meditation could do. And my teachers were going to my mom and saying, "Hey, he's starting to pick up things now, and he's starting to understand concepts." I had an issue understanding concepts. I didn't learn multiplication until I was like in 11th grade or something. I was super late with everything. So going to school every day was super, super stressful. Now, let me backtrack a little bit, if you don't mind. In my early years, I'd be having these out of body experiences all the time. Now, the only thing that ever made me happy as a kid was watching professional wrestling. My brothers liked sports. They liked to watch football, basketball, hockey, you name it. For me, it was just pro wrestling. Pro wrestling to me felt like people that were larger than life. It was like comic book characters come to life. I knew it was fake. I knew it was a show, but I was engulfed in it. And it was something that really took my soul. And so in the midst of fearing going to bed at night, which all the time, I always was afraid to go to bed. It's like, damn it, it's bedtime now. I know I'm going to see one of these things. I know I'm going to see something that's undesirable. And I would always prepare myself for it, and I would experience it. And I'd wake up moody, and I'd wake up sad as a kid. And I was sad mainly because I knew I was in special education classes, and I never felt like I was good enough. So I was dealing with this double-edged sword in life of like, what am I? Am I even good enough? What is this? And my mother would always tell me every single day, "Hey, maybe you should try smiling." And I would say, "Well, why? My day is going to be bad." And she's like, "Well, Jamin, if you smile, it's at least a little bit better. It'll change the cells or something." She would always sell it. Science shows that if you smile, it changes the cells in your body. And she's giving me all this information. And as a moody kid, I wasn't really, fancying my Willie there. But however, I did over time start paying attention. And it wasn't until I was probably about 12 or 13, I would leave my body and I would see my brothers and my mother getting ready for work. So my mom would get ready for work. My brothers are getting ready for school. I can hear my mother telling my brother Nathan, "Hey, Nathan, wake up Jamin. Jordan, can you wake up Jamin?" Da 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 da. So it's like, "Jamin, come down." And all of a sudden I'd zap back into my body all the time. So I would always have these conversations with my mother. And something my mom would say is, "Hey, just stare at it." She would say it all the time. "Just stare at it and just try not to be afraid of it. Just see what happens." Like, she's like, treat it as an experiment. So once she gave me that perspective, I think I started viewing things just a little bit differently. And there was this one day, 12 or 13 years old, I left my body and I saw this Doberman Pinscher. And the Doberman Pinscher was in front of my face. I was in the sleep paralysis state. And it's in front of my face, and there was drool coming from its mouth, and its face was peeling off. And it was so freaking detailed. It threw my mind. I was like, wow, this is really scary. And for whatever reason, that day in particular, maybe I was maturing as a kid. My mother, through the Rolodex of my thoughts, I heard my mom's voice, "Just stare at it." So I stared at it. And the more I stared at it, all of a sudden I started to appreciate almost the artistry that I was looking at. Because yes, it was scary, But somehow staring at it got me through this threshold of, okay, I'm not afraid of it anymore. So now what do I do with this image that's in front of me? And all of a sudden, I could see the drool coming off its mouth, dripping from its chin. I'm looking at the details of its teeth. I can almost see every single fiber of hair on the dog's face individually. And I just was like, am I making this up? And the minute I said that, it dissipated right in front of me. Ah, interesting. So now I wake up with a new perspective and I tell my mom all about it. I'm trying to tell her, she never used to want me to have coffee because I was too young, but I would always make myself a cup of coffee. And I was like, Mom, I grabbed the coffee. I'm like, Mom, this is what happened. Sit down with me. And I'm telling her about it. And she's like, I don't want you drinking coffee. I was like, no, no, no. But listen to the story. I did it. I conquered my fears. So I'm telling her the whole story. And she's like, great. Now consistency, do it again and explore it more. So at an early age, it was a lot of fear in my early years based on the way I thought about myself, based on what I was afraid to do when I'd go to bed, what was going to happen. It was always just this fearful state I was in. And something my mom would say to me going to school, because she knew I was miserable about school too, she would say, hey, instead of telling yourself you're going to have a bad day, why don't you just tell yourself you're going to be the best you can? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the best I can. And I'd be real, negative about it. The funny thing is, though, after that experience with the Doberman Pinscher, I started walking to school every day. And I was like, and I was trying to be cool in front of her. But when I'm walking with myself, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be the best I can today. I'm just going to do the best I can today. And that's what I'd say to myself. I would still be in a funky mood. I'd still be like, nah, I'm going to be the best I can today. However, then I started to see my experience change in front of me constantly. I started making friends. All of a sudden, I was starting to understand things a little bit easier. All of a sudden, information sticking. It was a very slow process, by the way. I don't want to make it seem like it all happened in one day, but my attitude slowly started to change. And when that started happening, boom, I started getting excited to go to bed at night. I'm like, all right, let me see what I can do here. And then I started controlling my experiences. And then I started understanding how to navigate these experiences. Then I'm flying over my house one day in the neighborhood and it feels exhilarating. It's one of the most exhilarating. Hey, anybody who had an out of body experience, whoever's listening to this, anyone who's listening who has had an out of body experience knows what I'm talking about. When you're flying, it's the most exhilarating feeling. No matter how high you are, no matter how scared you might be in the moment, there's this just different confidence about you. You feel like you're soaring like an eagle. And for me, I just started to get more excited about these. And then I started experiencing other things. So it's not that I wouldn't experience negative things, but I definitely started experiencing what I view it or define it as other civilizations. And for me, it was seeing a lot of angels. And when we think about angels, we think about like these people in these robes and these nice white wings and the pristine, everything's pristine and they have the trumpets and the flutes. And I didn't experience that at all. I would actually see angels that look like warriors, and they look like they were a military or something. And their armor would have constellations on them where you could see like mini universes on their armor floating like a star system. And you would see like these mini little, I don't know what you call it, like a meteor or shooting star kind of going across the armor a little bit. Very light, almost like someone had like an LED type of light on their costume or something, but much more subtle. But their wings were ruffled. They were dirty a bit. They had a dirtiness to them, but they had a beautiful energy that you would feel at the same time. So I started to recognize that, okay, maybe I have angels that are protecting me and watching over me, because that was the one thing I would see the most, especially when I was in a good state of mind. These are some of the cornerstones or foundations that make me who I am today. I'm 39 years old today, and I've had a wealth of experience through out of bodies that I think have helped me in my life, in my waking life. And to me, the game is not just trying to get out of body, but it's what you do in body as well. And I think that's very important because they're both one and the same, if that makes sense. So when we dream, it's part of life. It's not like, oh, I got my life and then I had a dream and you're separating it. No, no, no. It's part of life. It's all one thing. And I believe through the way you define things to yourself, tell yourself, whatever you tell yourself, what you seek, you shall find. So you shall be it. To me, karma is not this thing that's like floating around you and looking to get you when you've been doing something bad or good. To me, karma is just who you are. An angel said to me once, who you are is what your life becomes in the inside and outside. So I can look at someone and say, oh, I don't like this person. Look at this person. And there's an inner dialogue happening with me. Well, that inner dialogue is affecting your spirit as well, from my perspective. But once again, this is all my perspective. I don't want to come across like I'm a know-it-all, but I know myself very well and I pay attention and I'm constantly learning and I'm always choosing to constantly grow, especially from old ways of thinking. If I thought out of bodies was something 5 years ago and I think it's different today, then it's what it is today. I believe in evolution. So all these experiences have shaped me who I am. And I think it's really cool that we're at a time in life where I think people are finding themselves listening to more of this information. And I think they are asking questions maybe more about themselves, their origins, where they came from, who are they, looking for ways to better themselves. And I think if you're going to mess with out of bodies or NDEs or in-body experiences, then I would recommend get to know yourself really well and know where you're being a hypocrite, know where you are doing double standard things, pay attention to everything you're doing, because I think once you nab those things, now you're in real control. And now I think you're experiencing your spirit and daily life on a completely different level. You're seeing things a little bit differently in everyday life versus what it seems to be.
Wow, that's amazing. Everything you just said there, but you just lit a fire on so many wonderful topics. Now, I want to ask you a couple of questions here, and then I really want to get into the experiences that you've seen and had on the other side in the OBE. But first, I think there could be folks that are still drawing the comparison between the OBE and the NDE and trying to figure out, a little bit about how they're similar and how they're different. Okay, so on the OBE side, this is where you make a conscious effort in some ways to sort of go to the other side. It isn't like you got hit by a car and you got thrown to the other side and maybe you had a choice and came back, and maybe we don't hear about those that don't come back. Maybe they didn't have a choice and the body died, and that was kind of like you trying to get back in, but you can't get back into a body that isn't functional enough to sustain a soul, it sounds like, right? So, but when you're deliberately going to the other side, I've heard this often that you get into this state of sleep paralysis. You want to just take a minute, talk about that process that you experience? You've been doing it for 30 plus years. What it takes to get in and get to the other side.
So to me, let's put it this way. If you are if you are trying to have an out of body experience and you get stuck in the sleep paralysis stage, to me, that is the place where you take off. So look at it as that's where the rocket sits. That's sleep paralysis. And the takeoff is what you say in your mind in the sleep paralysis. So for me, it would be like you're going to command something. When I say command, though, I'm not talking like, for example, something I saw years later after I was doing out of bodies. I was looking into this stuff. I didn't even know they were called out of bodies. I was always calling them dreams. But when I first learned that they're out of bodies, I saw this Monroe Institute. And they had this, I think this technique where you're climbing a rope or something, pulling yourself out. And I would try all these little things. And some of those would work for me. Some of them wouldn't. But one thing I thought they nailed was making a command. They would say, door now, kitchen now. Whatever by heart in your house, let's just say, start with your house, kitchen now. The minute you make a command, your spirit goes there. That's how you move. So for me, though, it's the process is a little bit different. For me, it's more like a feeling of move. Like, I don't know how to describe that. It's like, it's just saying, I need to be there. Okay, here, now I'm here. Now I'm flying. It's a like type of feeling. It's something that's happening in my entire body. It's something. Let's put it this way. Something that I've learned in this time is your imagination is one of your biggest assets. Not your brain, your mind, your imagination. So the brain, how I would distinguish the two, is the brain's like designed to like pick up this phone and like hold it and make sure it stays in my hand. The mind to me is like, what does this phone mean to me? And what does this interview mean to me right now? And while I'm talking, can I please make sure that everyone that may see this be healed in their own life, wherever they're hurting? I'm already doing this in my imagination. So therefore, maybe, just maybe, it will help something along the way. And I'm under the big belief system that if you're using your imagination in everyday life, I'm talking out of body still, but I'm using in-body experience to reflect your out of body in a much nicer state. So for example, if I meet you, Brad, and I say, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm Jamin. Nice to meet you. You're like, hey, I'm Brad. While I'm doing that, I'm also imagining, hey, may this person be well. May this person do very good things in their life. Wherever they're hurting, may they heal from that. To me, that is the real power because, and it's not about me saying it to you. I'm using it as an example, but I think if we all quietly did things like this, you'd be very surprised how much your reality changes in front of you. Someone can come up to me and tell me a story about the world and what's going on. I don't see it like that. You know, it's to me, we're in a jungle. Nobody said the jungle was going to be fair. Nobody said the jungle was going to be safe. It is a jungle. So you get all types of characters out here. But going back to or out of body experiences, my process is very simple. To me, it's like a click. It's a shift of the mind. What I would recommend to people is breathe deeply. I think the deeper you breathe, the more you'll start to feel the vibrational state around you. And the first thing that happens when people do this is then they start to say, I feel the vibration. And then you start thinking about the vibration and then it goes away. And you're like, oh, I lost it. So the idea is not to be attached, in other words, to how this needs to play out. Now, these ideas, I think, were developed in my early years when I was just trying things. Sometimes I'd leave my body and I call this place Neptune. It's not really Neptune, but there's these flowers that are like whistling and dancing and it's strange. It's just a strange place. To me, it's actually a little eerie, but I'm curious about it. And sometimes when I leave my body, I have that thought in my head, can I go to that place again? And I'll end up in that place and I will see these flowers just it's almost like a cartoon. If with anyone in their right mind would say that seems imaginary, but perhaps imagination is the key that unlocks everything, and that's how you find the answers.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that's exactly it. On this side, we have this vocabulary, these few words we have to use to communicate. Yeah. And it's always lost in translation. And communication is our biggest problem because we're limited to these little noises that squeak out of our mouth to represent how it is we truly feel. Now, you get to the other side, there are no little voices and vocabulary. It's just absolute pure emotion and feeling and intention and imagination, like you say, that clicks everything together. But I think what's fun is you get to the other side and you realize that's what drives that experience. You come back here and you bring that into this experience too, which makes this experience even better. So what I'm hearing is that you go in to heavy, deep breathing, and then you go into sleep paralysis. And if you got it right, you can issue that command of kitchen now, Paris now, Milan now, and off you go, wherever you're going next. So that sounds cool. Now, let me ask you this. Look at the difference between, again, an NDE and an OBE. In an NDE, if I get hit by a car, I go to the other side. A lot of people say I was met by Jesus or my relatives or whatever. And it kind of feels like, well, you might be dying right now, and they're kind of meeting you to take you on the other side. And of course, that's what you're expecting. That's what's in your world. And so you would expect something that you would manifest on the other side to be comfortable and something that you're familiar with. And so that would be that. But now it feels like you're doing these out of body experiences and you pop over to the other side and you're not in any fear of dying over here. And the other
No.
side is going, Jamin's over here again. What's he doing this time? You know, it's like nobody meets you there, but you run around and have a ball and come back. Now, you know, one day, you know, at the end of the Jamin, you'll go over and everyone will meet you
Yeah.
and so on and so on. Again, maybe that's a little bit of the difference between the OBE and the ND.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't answer that question earlier, and I think that is a perfect way to describe it. I mean, look, they're similar, but one's traumatic and maybe one's not, right? One is I voluntarily choose to do this, and the other one's I did not choose for this to happen. And I think a lot of people probably experience whatever their belief systems are. Okay, so I'm a big proponent of like I think whatever you want is to be true is true. This world isn't real.
Aha. Well, there is a realization right there. That's the notion of experiencing both sides and then having the opportunity to compare them in great detail. And you know what I also heard you say earlier is you said who you are is what your life becomes. Now that's important. When you get to the other side and you come back, you realize that. Now, here's a question for you, the audience would love, is like, if it's true that who you are is what life becomes, how does a person turn their focus from outside to inside to adjust who they are to what they really want that to be so that their outer experience is what they'd like it to be also?
Yeah, pattern recognition. Understand the patterns that you're seeing in your life. So I'll give you an example. This is the most classic. When people are in relationships and they're like, I just keep dating this girl and it's the same type of girl every time, or I keep dating this guy and he always cheats on me. It probably tells me you need to change something in your pattern of personality to shift to get something that's a little different, meaning you're probably not leveling up somewhere. And that's not a bad thing. I see, to me, I look at it as like a caution sign. It's a signal that's telling you, hey, you need to change. So instead of taking the pattern of your experience, whatever it may be, so seriously, not to say that some are not more serious than others, but take a minute thing in your life and try to understand why is this happening. And you need to look at like who you're being, not only to like, okay, let me ask people this. Do you follow your own principles? And they can answer that question themselves. And if the answer is simply no, then you probably have a lot of good shifting. There's a lot of room to shift and experience things. Life is about learning things along the way. And I think doing the best you can with the information you have at that time. However, if you gain more information somewhere and you're not using it, then you're being foolish from my perspective, because everything's kind of evolving you to where you need to go.
Yeah, and I love what I heard you say. Are you following your own principles? I would ask a question before that one. Do you have any particular principles?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
Or are you just sort of heading down the river, you know, without a paddle, as it were? Um, Folks may on occasion stop and go, okay, I've learned a lot in life, but it's kind of chaos. Maybe I should develop some principles and then follow them. And when they do, then it feels like they're focused inward on making adjustments in their life, which I think if they do, they'll see a change, you know, in that outward experience also.
Absolutely, Brad. And also to add to that, listen, how you communicate. Listen, you said it earlier, Brad. Communication's important. And how you communicate, not only to people, but yourself, is probably a big hint along the way. For example, if you are a CEO of a company and you are upset that you have a high turnover rate and you can't understand why people are leaving your company and they are not happy there, well, to me, it's pattern recognition. Okay, it's probably coming from the top somewhere. And then I would ask the people at the top, so let's say I'm talking to a CEO, how do you talk to yourself in between work? So, yeah, you're going to work, you're in the car. What are you saying to yourself? Are you saying, gosh, my employees suck? Are you saying, gosh, this job? Or how are you talking to yourself? Because I would reckon that most likely you are probably forming a picture in front of you that you do not see yet that will be the future, and therefore your day and how your day rolls out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and get on a soapbox and say, look, if you change your life, if you change the way you're thinking, it's all going to change. It doesn't work like that. You see, karma is an interesting game to me because I view karma as more like, oh, the minute you start getting better, now the universe is going to challenge you to see if you what your resolve is. Let's see if you're really a man of your word, or let's see if you're really following your principles or whatever it is you're telling yourself. You see, I think where people get caught up in a very simple, the simplest way I could put it, in my opinion, I think it's just they don't really follow their own advice and they're not really doing what they think is the right thing to do for themselves, whether that be for selfish reasons or whether it be because they're vulnerable, whatever the reason is. But I think the more courage you have to face yourself. So I'll tell you, I'll give you a story, okay? This is just how it works. When I got out of wrestling for a moment, there was a point in time where I got out of wrestling. And it was because I was hurt. My body was hurting a lot. And it's a long story, but I was like, okay, I can't probably shouldn't wrestle anymore. My back's killing me. And it was the first time where I'm like, okay, I got money in the bank, but I'm not sure what to do with my life, and this money's not going to last me forever. So what do I do? So I was thinking to myself, so I guess I got to go get a job. I've never had a job as an adult. This is when I was probably like 31, 32. I'm like, I've never had a job, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. So I get some job at like this. It was like a call center for like USAA, where I was like a customer service guy, and it was the hardest time in my life because number one, I was used to performing in front of, thousands of people. And then you go into, now you're in a cubicle out of nowhere in life. And you're like, what, is this going to be my life? No way. There's no way it ends like this. This is what I'm thinking at the time. And during that time was a really hard time for me. So I started like smoking marijuana in the parking lot on my breaks because I was stressed. I was miserable. Smoke some weed, go back inside. One day, my boss caught me smoking weed. He caught me hitting a joint right outside. He walked out at the perfect time. It was like the universe was showing me, hey, it's probably not a good idea. But I took the hit of the joint, and the minute I blew it, he walks out and he sees me, and I go, and I was like, oh no. And he looks at me. He's upset. He walks back inside, doesn't say a word. I'm like, damn it. Okay, I got like 10 minutes on this break. What am I going to do? So I walk in, and I really had no other choice. It was two choices. Either you probably clock out and get out because you're probably getting fired, or you just admit to it. So that's what I thought I would do. But before I did that, I was a little scaredy pants, and I stayed away. And all of a sudden, I just hear on the like intercom, Jamin, can you please come to my office? And I was like, oh no. Felt like you were going to the principal's office. So I walk in there and I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, you tell me. And I was like, look, yes, I was smoking marijuana. And he's like, why? And I was like, I don't know, man. I just come from a different world in the professional wrestling industry. I don't know if this thing's for me. I'm just trying to find who I am. And this is how I was choosing to cope with it. And I know it was the wrong thing. And I'm willing to lose my job, and I'm willing to move forward. Like, but I do want to apologize to you. And I was very cordial with him. Well, first off, he said, hey, I'm so surprised that you just took accountability. Most people just try to lie or find a way out. I'm so blown away. I'm just going to send you home for today and just come back tomorrow. And I was like, okay. Lo and behold, I didn't stay there too much longer anyway. And then I built my business after that. But the story goes, the point of the story is, if you face your fears, just like in an out of body or in body, you're going to conquer it. Now you are the one that's in control. Not in the sense that you're the one with the power and you're almighty. I'm not talking like that. I'm talking about you having control. You are so sure of yourself in every single moment you put yourself in life, you feel good about it. I can walk up to anybody and feel good about who I am. What are part of my principles? Part of my principles is treat others the way you want to be treated. I believe they call it the golden rule. Like, pretty simple. I don't think these pieces of knowledge are out there for no reason. And I think those who follow it and listen to it are the ones who reap the fruits. I think it is as simple as that. And yeah, so part of one of my principles is just treat others the way you want to be treated. Have there been times in my life where I treated others wrong? Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm no saint. However, I'm not afraid to take accountability. I'm not afraid to walk up to someone after maybe I was being unreasonable and say, hey, look, the way I was talking to you is unacceptable, and I'm sorry, and that will never happen again.
What I'm hearing there is a level of confidence that actually just goes across the board. Your confidence in maybe what you do as far as your job and your sport, but also in your actions and taking accountability and trying to live your life in truth. So you're not ducking, lying, or hiding from anything. You're actually right out there and you're living in truth. And when you do that, you will find yourself making mistakes. And as long as you own up to them and maybe even really process that mistake, how did this happen? What did I learn from this? What can I take away? And how can I move forward? It feels like that's definitely a part of our world on this physical side. Now, I tell you what, on the other side, though, I do want to ask you that question. When you go to the other side, and you've done it so many times, what's the highest order of value you bring back to apply to this physical world here that you've gained from your experiences on the other side?
Love this question. Not to take things so seriously.
Okay, good. Well, that's an important thing because that can lead to a lot of stress, and a lot of angst and pain and frustration in your life. So, in that sense, do you feel like this side over here is kind of a game, if you will, that we kind of take on a character and we're playing that character for this period of time?
I think that's a perfect way you put it. I think this is your little spaceship and it's called Brad. And that's how Brad navigates on this planet, which by the way, we're in space. Let's not forget. People forget Earth is in space, not like space is out there. Like we're in space. So this is how our bodies, work on Earth. Like this is a machine. It's a machine. And so when you leave your body, the first impression. So when I was leaving my body, like floating over my body in bed. So at first, in my early years, it was like I see my brothers, I don't see me. But then as I gain more experience, I start to leave my body, and you're in the corner, like in a corner of your room or something, and you see yourself sleeping, and you're like, oh my goodness, I think I'm Jamin. Oh, what am I then? If that's Jamin, and over time this is my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right, but to me, it's just your spaceship and it's called Jamin, like Delta Airlines. You know what I mean?
So when you look down at the body, you realize the body is Jamin. It was given a name, a brand, and it's got, characteristics. But the you that is you goes in the spaceship and navigates in this physical form, but then
Yeah.
comes out of the spaceship, and that's truly the you that's you out there.
Yeah, I believe we all come from different civilizations. So I think Earth is like a playground. It's kind of like a theme park where like all these different civilizations come to grow. And here's the difference. And I think for me, I think the lesson is when all these civilizations come down, no matter what order you are in the universe, I think when you're a human, it's all kind of a same playing field, right? Like you cut me open, blood's gonna drip. If I get hit by a car, I'm gonna die, right? Like nobody's like so powerful and almighty, right? But I believe that whatever civilization you come from and whatever character traits that civilization holds might be your purpose on adding to the earth or taking away something. Who knows? It's a jungle. But I think that's up to us to decide, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And when you're here, it's a game. You got to play by the rules of the game.
Yeah.
There's gravity. There's I got to sleep. I got to eat. There's I'll bleed, like you said. So there's the rules of the game. So that's pretty interesting right there because you can't really get around that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I do have one question because I heard you talk about space. Can you explain what you meant by space? It's been defined at us. We're on a rotating ball that's hurling through space and so forth. And some people say it's an earthly plane with a firmament over the top. But, others say this is just a matrix and a simulation. So it doesn't really matter either way. What's your take on it?
I think it all could be true if you see it to be true. So here's a rule I do, and the reason why I do this rule is because when I was younger, I would define things as absolute, and then somewhere along the lines, I would get stuck when I left my body, and it was almost as if you can't see other places until you get past a way of thinking. And one of my ways of thinking was I would always define things to be like something. So, for an example, if I saw this being that they had these, I don't know if you call them staffs, but we'll call them staffs for the sake of visual. They had these staffs and they had these shaped heads that were like diamonds or like footballs or something, like a diamond sideways. Like it was like sharp ends, and they were like insect looking, almost like the color of a stink bug. It's the best way I can describe it. It was like the color of a stink bug. But they would have these staffs. I would always see these guys, and they were like in this body of water, like watching these gates. I don't know what the gates were. I don't know how you get in. But yeah, anyway, I'd see these guys. And one of the definitions I would come up with for them is, oh, those are like demons or something, because it had a scary look to it. And I would define it like that. And sometimes I'd just end up in this place and I didn't know how to get past it. I would always be like, can I go here? Can I go? No, I'm not. Okay, I guess it's just my experience tonight. It was always like kind of in this place. And the minute I started changing the way I looked at these guys, because I'm like, maybe they're just not demons. Maybe they're just like any other human being that looks a little off, scares me from my human being mind of looking at things. But I just got used to them after a while, and I changed the way I looked at them, and all of a sudden you see more things. So I think if you define things to be a certain way all the time, you're going to corner yourself somewhere. And life is going to show you that somewhere in your life. You're going to get caught somewhere, you're going to get confused, or you're going to be like, why is my life happening this way? It's probably because somewhere you've developed the habit of looking at things a particular way, and it gets kind of stuck there.
Yeah, especially with the example that I brought up before, because I've heard people say, listen, if you want it to be, a sphere and a globe and an earth and it's rotating through space and you get to the other side and fly around, you'll probably experience it that way. If you want it to be an earthly flat plane with a firmament, maybe you'll experience it that way, because you can manifest what you like. Maybe it's yes and yes. It isn't one or the other. And it's probably even many, many more than that as well. Hey, and so that could bring us over to, like, what are your top 3 experiences that you've had on the other side after 30 some years of visiting that you think would be so fun to share?
Top 3, gosh, that's a good one. I think one of them is the Doberman Pinscher story, because it was transformative, because it was something where an aha moment, kind of a light bulb went off in my head, like, oh, this is a game. How do I learn this game? To me, it was like, as a kid, it's like figuring out how to play Nintendo for the first time, or any game at that time. You're like, oh, that's the mechanism to which I can experience this. So I would say the Doberman Pinscher story. I think experiencing angels and seeing like a system of tiers was very interesting to me, where I want to be careful with how I define it, but I have my own definitions. But I'm gonna kind of give it to you that way, but I'm not saying it's the truth. Okay, I experience heaven a little. So heaven to me is tiers of angels, and angels to me might be, in my opinion, might be the cornerstone of what God is. I'm not saying they are God, or whatever you want to define as God, and I'll tell you why. Because my angel showed me this one time. It was almost like a diagram, and it was okay. So picture a sun. Can you picture a sun? Can you picture light rays coming off of it, like beams? Okay, and then there's levels to those beams. Those beams to me are civilizations moving forward. So the way I look at it is the sun is God. Okay, whatever that means. Okay, God is the sun. We'll just say it's this light source. And then all these little particles shooting off are your angels, and then tiers of angels. And as far as I can see, I see 8 levels of it. So it goes from 8 all the way to 1, and then it goes into these fairies, and then it goes into these elves. I see elves, and then it goes into another phase of reptilians, then octarians, then Palladians. And to me, so I see it more, the diagram that was shown to me was almost like a light. And that's how all these civilizations, so it's all from one source. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not like there's this hierarchy of, this or that. But I think there is a pendulum that is swinging one way and the other. And I guess you can call that contrast, if you will. You can call that good versus evil, if you will. I think, though, something I learned from my angel is, like, they always say this to me: who are you without the opposition? How can you grow?
Yeah, you have to contrast yourself against, like, how can you be warm if you don't know what cold is, up or down, and so forth. Just the opposites, what allows that, sort of hatred and love. And so I've heard that many times. So it's interesting that you see that on the other side that way. You see all those tiers or maybe realms of different experiences. And in our experience here, it isn't generally known that those other tiers or realms exist. The Palladians, Reptilians, and Arcturians and so forth don't hang around at the 7-Eleven down the street. You don't run into them much. Apparently they're out there. Is it your understanding that they're all in separate realms and we don't visit each other, or are some visiting us and one day we might visit them without an OBE? How does this work?
Yeah, I think we're all here. I think we're all here just sharing experiences. I think that's how camaraderie comes too. So say you're talking to something that someone would consider as a low vibrational entity, we'll say a demon or a bad person, okay? Well, it's very easy to turn someone who is from bad to good. I really believe that, or influence them. I don't mean you're going to keep them that way, but in the moment in time that you meet them, that is the most probably powerful moment. So hopefully the interaction is so powerful that they take that seed and it seems to grow in other areas or different directions. Does that make sense? So to me, it's all about dropping seeds. Okay. So to answer your question, yes, I think we all can come together. I think that's what Earth is. But I believe the richness of your interaction with them is going to play a role in how everything continues to turn out, at least in front of your eyes, the way you see it.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, the richness of our interaction, but our intention as well, because it's like you were saying earlier, it depends on what your outlook is maybe your frequency is, and also if we're able to actually go through this process of OBE, we can experience the other side
Yes.
probably even quicker as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that really takes us into this next section that I've got for you here, which is called Heart's First Whisper. It's a set of questions I had all set just for you. And this is where you answer with your heart, so your thought and your mind are on the sidelines. And it's pretty easy because I think you can do that for sure. What do you think?
Oh, I love this idea. This is fun. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, here's number one. When in your life have you felt most alive and closest to your true self?
When I'm in silence.
Like meditation.
I think just when I'm by myself, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be doing the dishes or, I could be, I'm an artist. I like to draw. I like to paint. I like to edit video. I like to graphic design. I think just anytime I'm expressing myself in some type of artistic form, I think is when I feel so alive and true. I think also having these conversations makes me feel so alive. I think that's part of my mission on this planet. So yeah, that makes me feel good to think about that. Yeah.
That's interesting because there's always that phrase, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And if
Yeah.
you combine that with meditation, like you said, if you just even doing the dishes, you can get lost in meditation or art or whatever it might be. That's a great answer.
Now you're thinking. Now that's what I mean by what I say. Like everything could be enjoyable. It's just up to you to, perspective is like filters on a phone. You could choose any perspective and so it shall be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you kind of lose yourself in the action as opposed to be distracting away from it. And maybe that's one of the big differences there too. Well, that takes us to number two, which is, what's one fear you stared down that changed you forever besides the Doberman picture?
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot. I think starting my business. When I first started getting into personal development coaching, I wasn't sure if I brought value or not. And I think most people go through that when they're trying a new endeavor. Can I do this? I told myself, okay, give yourself 2 years and see how it goes and then go from there. And that was a really hard decision for me to make because essentially at the time that I started my business, I was out of the wrestling business at that point. I was still wrestling with the idea like, should I continue to wrestle? And then I'm like, well, no, your body's going to get destroyed over a period of time. Like you won't be able to walk by the time you're 40, So I was going through a lot of deep stuff during that time. And it sounds simple, but that was a big fear of mine, starting my own business and sticking with it. And here we are, years later. So worked out.
Well, that's great. I think that actually a lot of people can relate to. So it feels like, over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been this big shape shift in how people are being very deliberate about their careers and what they do want to do. They don't want to do that job anymore, and they find the one they want or they create the one, and that's what you've done. And there's always some, well, there doesn't have to be, but oftentimes there's some anxiety in that. until, like a boat, you start planing out on top of the water and it's a little less effort each day and the success makes you smile.
I would like to add something to that. I think people struggle with the fear of things because they don't feel like they're ever smart enough. I see that a lot with people. Like they might feel like, I want to start this business, but I'm not educated enough. And this is what I'll say. I didn't get too much into it earlier, but I want to say it real fast. I have a rule system. I think what you experience out of your body and you see it instantaneously, the same rules apply when you're in body. So, except when you're in body, it takes time for things to develop. If I'm eating right or I'm trying to get some muscles or whatever the goal is, it takes time for that to happen. When you're outside of body, it's instantaneously. But to me, the rules still are the same. So if you're applying that, that's why people look lower vibration some days. Some days you look at your brother and you're like, gosh, you look like shit today. Maybe it's because he's holding a very low vibration. So I just think it's important to make that point across. What you hold inside is often creating the vibration. And so what I wanted to say about that and how it relates to going for your dreams or conquering your fears is you're going to have fears about things, but I think the rule is if you just jump in the middle and then figure out how to swim, 9 out of 10 times you'll come out on top and you'll get the information that is needed for you in the way that you understand it that makes sense. So oftentimes a lot of people are just afraid of, oh, I want to start this, but I don't know anything about business. I don't know how to handle money. No, you'll figure all that out if you just jump in. I really believe that.
Yeah, and I think especially if you follow your passion, because if you're not even super enthusiastic about the role that you're creating for yourself, that's the problem already. But if you love it and you have tons of intention and you're just really looking forward to it, that'll give you the motivation to work hard and to pull the rest of the business pieces together and sort it all out and enjoy yourself along the way. I really liked what you said there also about on the other side, your intention manifests instantly. And over here, it's the same intention. It just takes a little longer. You eat the food and the vitamins, and if essentially you get healthier and you build the muscle. A little slower over here, but the game's the same. It's just a little bit slower. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Absolutely. What matters to you becomes matter.
What matters to you becomes matter. I love it. Hey, number 3, what's something you used to believe about God or reality that's evolved?
I always believe in a God. I don't know if I define the God, though. So I think when I was younger, I grew up in a Catholic household. Out of bodies kind of blew that whole thing out of the water for me because I started saying, well, hang on a second. I don't know, man. I don't know if this is true or not. And I tried not to, in my early years, I was playing this game of like, oh, I don't think it's true. I think they're lying to us and blah, blah, blah. And you get in these negative kind of tailspins about what you think it is. And I think how it's evolved is I do believe in God. And I believe if they say we are pieces of God, then we are all creators, mini creators. So I think in the way, once again, going back to like how you define things in your life to be true, so it shall be. And the way I define God or reality right now, I would say it's evolved in the sense that I think I look at it differently and I feel like I'm always communicating with it through symbolism and what I'm seeing in my day, not just through the people I'm talking to, but like just it's like that perfect song plays on the radio or on your phone at the perfect time. And you're like, oh, like, I feel like it's always kind of playing, pass with you with the ball. And to me, I think it's evolved in that sense. So it started off with a lot of praying to Jesus and Mary. And I think it's evolved into all of that still but also adding the repertoire of, oh God, I see you talking to me here, or oh God, I see you talking to me through this person named Brad. By the way, you look like a Palladian. I had to say that. I had to mention that. You look like a Palladian to me.
Hopefully a Palladian is a good thing. I'll take it, hopefully it's a compliment. I'm going to have to go look that up. But, it does sound like you're talking about synchronicity in some ways. If you see 1111 or 555 or whatever number, is important to you, you see that and you feel like it's maybe your spirit guide's kind of having some fun telling you you're on the right track, hopefully, could be. But
Yeah.
also, when you think about it, do you think about what created everything that I'm experiencing?
That's a mystery. I like saying I don't know and then coming up with an answer because first off, I don't know. I don't think any of us do. And I think that's sometimes part of the process, right? I think the thing about humans is we're infinitely curious and we're trying to uncover the mysteries, but I don't think the mysteries are uncovered so much through like one day you get the answer and you're like, oh, ding, that's the answer. I think it's uncovered through very subtle experiences that continue to compound in your life over time, and you start to see things differently. And it's not like a one day you say aha. It's just it continues to evolve. So God, it's all. I don't know how this was created. I think it's fascinating. Sometimes I have a theory that like once again I think there's like angels. I think there's many gods, so to speak, playing a game. You can call it the simulation. I mean you can call it whatever you want. I don't know. I play around with this idea all the time with myself. It's a fun question. There's also a part of me that likes knowing that I don't know, because I think it makes life more interesting. Because I feel like through my experiences and the 39 years I've been on this planet, I continue to uncover new truths or things that seem true to me at that time and resonate. So it's a fascinating concept. But maybe we're just all God experiencing itself.
Well, yeah, I've heard that many times also. And so you'll never really potentially know the answer, but what you can sort of judge it on is the experiences that you're having. Now, from all the experiences, if you gathered them all together on this side and that side, how would you refer to that is the creator of everything? Some people go to the other side in an NDE and they say, I feel unconditional love. Do you feel that in an OBE?
Oh yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you feel what you are.
Aha.
Now we're getting somewhere again. You see what I'm saying? It comes back down to you, doesn't it? Your experience and what you see. So I have a theory. I think archangels. I think they're controlling a lot of things. And then something above that. But I think archangels is yeah. I think archangels are playing a little bit there, and I don't see it as like Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel. I don't see it like that. I see them. I think there's a lot of those guys up there, and I think I see them in like a ring. I don't know what the hell that is, but I think they have something to do with something. But for me to say what it is, or I'm not too sure. But it's a fun. It's something I do look at. I mean, angels are very interesting to me. That yeah, because I see them. That's what I see a lot of.
Got it. And by the way, the term you brought up a minute ago goes right into question 4, which is what's one thing your angels or guides have revealed to you about the real meaning of love?
To love yourself. To love anything outside of you must mean you're content with yourself for that moment, even if you don't love yourself outside of that thing that you love. The meaning of love is in your conversations with people. It's how you communicate. It's taking accountability for your actions, good or bad. I think it's looking. I think to me that's all love. Like doesn't seem like it. Maybe say you got caught lying or something. Doesn't seem like love, but to admit it would be a form of love, from my perspective, because you're surrendering yourself. In other words, and what's fascinating about human beings is a lot of people are afraid about other human beings, like judging them or whatever. But I think actually most human beings are very understanding ultimately, and I think whenever we see each other holding ourselves accountable, we'll usually say, "Oh, it's okay, that's cool." And to me, those are like really important steps to understanding what love means is holding yourself accountable. Once again, yeah. And the game is with yourself. I mean, this is I'm going to go on and on about this constantly because I just it's the game is you. It's just how you're communicating to yourself. And if you don't have the right ideas in place, it might be a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes, like, look, not everyone has access to this information or has maybe can't comprehend even how to ask a question to find themselves deeper. But if you want it in your life, meaning you feel it inside of you, you see, God to me is responding to how you feel about something. Not just what you say, not just what you do, but how you feel about something. And say you don't know how to ask the question of, oh, how do I get better? But maybe the feeling is, oh, I need to get better, or I got to get out of this situation. So then it shall be. And if one is consistent with those thoughts, then they will see their life change rapidly. It's all an illusion to me. Like to me, I don't know. I just don't. There is a lot of horror in the world. There's a lot of horror in the jungle, but I think it's important to do what you can with the tools you have where you are in your life and stay motivated to get out of whatever it is or to continue to grow in whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think As you're talking about love there, the meaning of love, the notion of loving yourself, I think, is key because maybe without that, it's really hard to love outside yourself too. It's kind of like when you were talking about the CEO and you were asking what conversation was he having in his head in between and around other moments where he's working with the employees, because whatever that is spilling over into that world. Is that filled with love, self-love? Because if it is, more than likely it'll be poured out with love to the employees also. Now that really brings us into this lovely question number 5, which is, has your mother visited you since her passing, or have you found a way to meet her beyond the veil?
I sure have. Yeah. It was days after she died. I left my body and I was out. So I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I went home to visit my brothers and be there for my mom. So she died the day after Easter. I was on my way home at the time, but she passed away. I got to talk to her on the phone before she passed. It was probably about 2 or 3 days after she passed away. I was actually sleeping in her room, and I had left my body, and I was almost like a child seeing through the eyes of when I was like 7. It was fascinating. And I was walking in the backyard, and well, the way to describe this is so by the time I became a teenager and got out of the house and went in the wrestling business, we had a tree in the backyard that was cut down. I hadn't seen that tree probably since I was like 10. Anyway, I'm back in my body. It feels like I'm 7 or 8, and not in my body. I'm out of my body, and I'm going in the backyard. It seems like I'm 7 or 8 years old, and that tree is back in the backyard. And it was almost as if like I was back in time or something. And I was like, oh man, I remember that tree. And I'm looking at the backyard, and it's completely different than it was currently. So I was like, oh, I'm in a different time frame, and this is the thoughts I'm having. And I'm looking up at the tree, and it was a cherry tree. We used to always pick the cherries off of it and eat it. Anywho, at the very top of the tree, I saw my mother's eyes, like looking over, like there was branches in front of her, kind of like this, and it was almost as if she was looking down at me. And I just started screaming her name. I was like, "Mom, mom, mom!" And I'm screaming as hard as I can. And she came up and she like floated, and she was in her pajamas, the same pajamas she passed away in. She was in her pajamas, and I just saw her like open her mouth, and this light shooting through her mouth and her eyes, and it freaked me out. It was like, oh no, what does that mean? It looked like she was being crucified or something. It scared the hell out of me. And I'm screaming, no, mom, wait, no. And all of a sudden she dissipated in front of me. I wake up, I'm crying, and my brother heard me actually. He's like, hey, dude, you okay? You screaming mom's name? I was like, I saw mom. I'm telling him all about it. And I thought, the way I interpreted it when I came back was, oh, I think she released herself to the ethers, in other words. Like, maybe that was the last time I saw her form. And then, I don't know, maybe months later, I don't know, maybe 6 months later, I'm going to take a guess on that. 6 months later, I have another experience where I see this guide, and it's one of those like those football shaped looking head type of guys. And it was like, oh, do you want to see your mother? When it's communicating with me, it's like through the mind. It's just an understanding. It's like, yes, I would love to see my mother. And it's taking me through this like dance hall, and it seems like I'm in what seemed to be like a dance club or something. Like lights were dark and it was flashy, and people were having fun. And I saw my mom, and she was young. She looked beautiful. I was like, damn, look at her. And she was just dancing, and she goes, Jamin, come dance with me. Come dance with me. Now here's a crazy story I'm going to tell you about. She goes, come dance with me. And I'm like, no, mom, I'm looking at it. She had like looked like what seemed to be a glass of wine in her hand. And I was like, oh, mom, you shouldn't be drinking. Maybe I'll make sure you get home safely. She's like, no, just dance with me. Just enjoy this moment. That's what she kept saying. Dance with me. Enjoy the moment. Okay. And she's waving the scarf. Now here's the crazy part. Okay. So I tell my brothers about that. And we always share stories about how we saw mom somehow. My brothers also have out-of-body experiences. That's another story. But we all like to compare our notes and have fun with that. Weeks later, my aunt, my mom's sister, her husband, Rich, calls my brother one day and says, "Hey, I saw your mom. I was getting up and going into the bathroom. one day in the middle of the night, and I saw like a silhouette of your mom in the bathroom waving a scarf. And the feeling I got is, oh, she might be coming for me soon. And my brother Nathan's like, oh, well, that's kind of eerie or whatever. And so Nathan tells me about it, and we're like talking about it. Well, several days later, he died in sleep. And that was just interesting, you know? And so once again, I sorry, I went off into a tangent, but these things, those are things you don't know how to explain, but obviously we're all in communication still. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it shows me that everything is always happening, whether it's in body, out of body, it's happening all in real time.
Yeah, and you have the advantage of experiencing on both sides. So when someone does pass, there are a lot of folks that do grieve a lot, as you would imagine. And a lot of them watch podcasts like this to actually hear experiences of folks that have had NDEs or out of body experiences, to know that they connect with these folks, that it isn't the end, that they're definitely still with us in another dimension, another frequency. We'll either see them now through an OBE, or we'll certainly see them as we transition. Also, that's really comforting to hear. And, you know, we talked about number 6 here a little while ago, which is this world the real arena, or are we living in a kind of spiritual simulation?
I think it's both. I think I think we are in a magnificent game, and our parts matter. What we do matters. I really believe that. Um, how it works, I don't know, but I think it's, to me, it's all living life. You know, when I leave my body, it's living life. I get the impression, based on my experience, okay, when you die, most likely what's going to happen is you're going to say, oh, I thought that was real. This is real. Wow. How do I go back and experience that again? That's the impression I get. That's what I'll say about it. It's all one. Does that make sense?
Right. So this is the dream that you wake up from.
Ah, yes. Yes, 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 yes. In my opinion, yeah, you're picking up what I'm dropping. Yes.
Exactly. Well, you know, with all the wrestling you've done, I wanted to drop this question in there for sure, which is, what does power mean to you now?
Power to me means discipline. Discipline as a human, discipline in your morals, your values, your principles. I just think discipline is a very important thing to have in your life. I mean, out of body experiences to for me have been is discipline. Training or eating right, or training jujitsu. I love jujitsu. I love all those disciplines because I think they help me navigate this world in a way that allows me to enjoy my life. You know, I'm not really a sad guy. You know, I'm a very happy person. If anything, I get sad when I see circumstances for other people that are harder, and I think to myself, you know, gosh, you know, that must be hard for them. That, I mean, that might be a source of my sadness, but for the most part, power to me is really understanding what you are and how you can affect people for the good or the bad. I think that's real power. And power can be used in ways that are not good, obviously. And powers can be used in a way that I think enriches your life. And what I mean by enriches, you know, I'm not just talking physical money, I'm talking in spirit, you know, when you're living life and you're experiencing this reality, maybe not from a place of complacency or a place of where you're just, you know, you're so run down with life. Everything's the same. It's always the same. That's the experience I see through other people's perspectives when they talk to me. I'm like, oh man, they've been seeing the same pattern for like 20 years. And so I don't experience life that way. And sometimes I feel grateful that my mother had taught me maybe a way to talk to myself where I wasn't so down on myself, but it had enriched me in many ways where I constantly wake up and I'm excited to freaking get going. I'm like, hell yeah, we're another day in paradise. Let's go do this. People ask me all the time. They're like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, another day in paradise. And they're like, oh, you call this paradise? I'm like, well, yeah, actually I do. Actually, as a matter of fact, I do. I think we're definitely onto something here. I mean, we're in a cool time right now where technology and everything is kind of leading the way. Some people are against it. I'm just all for evolution. I see where we're going, and you're in a jungle. You better pick up if you're not understanding things. That's kind of my thought process around it. So that to me, that's power.
So you say you see where we're going. When you're on the other side, do you have the ability to take a look at future possibilities?
Yeah. So like crypto, for example, I saw crypto. Gosh, like when I was in my early 20s, like years and years and years and years and years ago. Well, I guess over 20 years ago now. Yeah. Uh, I saw crypto, but I don't know if I saw it maybe the way it is, but I saw that we were like doing things digitally and we're like putting our hands up to things and it's like ding and you buy the item. So what's interesting about okay, I gotta say this. I should have made this point earlier. What's interesting about out of body experiences is you'll see that it is a higher version of what you see on Earth. It's like almost like Earth is imitating something you see on a much grander scale, if that makes sense. It's like we have stores and then there's like places where I don't know if it's like you're buying items, but there are things that you can get that are in like these tubes. I don't know what the hell you call them. They're purple, they're green, they're all different colors, and it's some type of liquid that these things drink. And I've never had them. I can't grab them, but I can perceive them, and I see other beings drinking them. I don't know what the hell it is, but to me, I always the way I interpret it is, oh, so Earth is like an imitation of all this. This is the real thing. Earth is an imitation. I don't know if they're exchanging money. I don't know how they're grabbing these things. I don't know if there's like, I don't know if there's distribution. Like I don't know how it works, but as far as I could see, Earth is definitely an imitation of something that's happening here. So, when I leave my body, Brad, I try to experience it. And then whatever feelings that come back to me, people use this term a lot. I don't care for it, but I'm going to use it for the sake of it. They call them downloads. You know, I get the term in the sense that you come back and you have this information kind of instilled in you, and you're not quite sure maybe how you got it, but it's there. That's how I'd equate out of body experiences. Whenever I come back and see these type of things, I feel a different confidence in my body when I wake up. I'm like, okay, if I saw that, then I can handle this person calling me a name or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just you kind of look at it with a little more of a smirk on your face and not take it so seriously.
Totally. Got it. Yes. Well, that makes a lot of sense. The power is a term, like you said, it could be good, used for good, could be used for bad. I think after a while, when you get some confidence behind that, you can use it as in service to others as well as yourself, and then that can go a long way. Well, that brings us into number 8, which is really interesting. If you used your power or your ability potentially one day to manifest a new 25-year-old body and you could wrestle again, hypothetically, how would this experience change that? How would you be a different wrestler?
Yeah, so this is interesting to people. So anyone who may or may not know me, so I actually have a match on August 17th. It's my last match, most likely. Yeah, I have a match coming up, and I did this because a couple of years ago, I took my daughter to wrestling. This is for a place called Ohio Valley Wrestling. It's the Harvard of Pro Wrestling. It's in Kentucky here. And a couple of years ago, I took my daughter just to go check it out, show her what I used to do, and see some friends. And my daughter, she sees the show, and we're leaving the show, and she looks at me in the car, and she goes, it just would have been cool to see you wrestle once. And I was like, damn it, I got to do it now. And that kind of was enough to get me back on the horse and train for this one match. So I did a couple matches since I've been back. I live between here and Singapore. So I'm there 3 months at a time, here 3 months at a time, there 3 months at a time. So anyway, I kind of did these like little wrestling skits coming back. And if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see what I'm talking about. And I think I'm approaching the game from a completely different point of view than I did, 10 years ago. It's just the way I'm viewing it, the way I'm marketing myself, the way it's pretty fascinating. I feel like this is the ultimate evolution of me. And if you guys get a chance, please check out my channel. And you'll see what I'm talking about. I make vignettes and things that help support what this character I'm doing. And for anyone that watches it now will understand the way I'm dressed is how I see angels. And it's just kind of fun to express that in a different format than I ever did before. I was never like this before. So yeah, so I'm going to wrestle on the 17th of August, and I'm going to give those people a show. They probably I'm going to blow people's minds. That's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to blow people's minds and have an awesome main event, and maybe even take a championship home with me.
And not only blow their minds, but also inspire your daughter. Sounds like she really wants to see you wrestle. She's going to have a great chance. You're getting in shape, fighting shape again, and you're going to get out there and you will entertain as well.
Without my daughter, I wouldn't have the disciplines I have in place. She is everything. And I don't want to put her on blast, but she could see angels right now. She's like in this phase of her life where she just sees them. And I'm like, really? What are you experiencing? She's like, I don't know. It's just sitting there watching TV. And I was like, does it look at you? And she's like, no, it looks like a statue or something. She almost doesn't like it, but I'm like my mother. I tell her to explore it. Hey, babe, explore that. Like, try to understand that to the best of your ability. It's just another evolution of maybe the way we see things. So I look up to her in a lot of ways, and without her, I'm nothing.
Wow. Well, she came into your life, and I'm sure she probably feels a similar way. You guys are here for each other, co-creating. That's amazing to hear. Hey, our last question here, number 9, is if you could whisper one truth to every soul on earth, what would it be?
The only thing you can keep with you, the only thing you can take with you is all of your actions. That's the only thing that will belong to you forever.
So you're saying live your life knowing that value that you take with you are the lessons, the wisdom, right? And the actions that have caused that. Know that every day.
Know that every day, and then you will know why you see what you see in front of you. That is the game. This is just a projection. The only reason why we're sitting here right now, if I can impart some wisdom, is because you're just like me and I'm just like you somewhere. And that's how we found each other. Yes, you found me from YouTube and this and that, but the connections, it's the web. Do you understand? Like, that's how energy works. That's how I see energy. So when I see you, it's like fun because I'm like, oh, I'm looking at a particle of me. Somehow, somewhere, Brad is just like me. And anyone that is watching your show at this time right now is just like us. That's the game to me.
Well, is that along the lines of, we are all one?
Yeah. All the stuff you hear for centuries. You've heard it, you hear it forever. All this information's been out there forever. I think if you actually listen to the wisdom and apply it, you'll see how it actually changes your life. You just got to be a little disciplined. It goes back to discipline.
Well, that's cool. People have read documents for thousands of years and seen phrases like "we are all one," and they try to kind of feel that as much as they can, but you go into the other side allows you to know that because you've been there and come back. And now what's cool is you're helping people with this. So why don't we take a walk now through your website? Tell us more about that and the services that you offer to help folks.
Yeah, sure. So my website is jaminolivencia.com. And I'm sure you'll link it to it. Everything will be in the list below. Just click below. Jaminolivencia.com. So I got into business coaching maybe about 5 years ago, kind of an accident, but I basically do personal development coaching. And what I focus on is who you are, and I help you build principles. I help you build values, and then you roll it out. My goal is never to see you again. My goal is to talk to you, have a session. If we need to do several sessions, fine, but I do not want to see you for long because my theory is if you're actually applying these things, you won't need me. So I just look at me as someone who's a mind coach and just helping you understand this physical reality. And we'll do cool things where I will give you maybe some homework, very easy homework. And I'll say, look at this experiment and then tell me how your life changes. Just do it for a week and then tell me what changes. And then they'll come back to me and tell me what changes. And that's kind of that's how we set them off. Now, as far as business is concerned, I wouldn't say I focus on the money side of business. I focus more on the people. So what businesses do is they bring me in and I look at their company culture. And what I try to do is help them have plans on how to communicate with their workers, how managers can communicate to their workers much easier and more effectively in a way that's going to help people grow and help get your sales up or whatever your goal is. And yeah, you can contact me through jaminolivencia.com. And I love making content. I love making content that's meaningful. It's a way of self-expression. And I'm always dropping lines that I hear in out of body. So if you guys take some time, look through a bunch of my videos, almost every line you're going to hear in all my videos is probably something I got from angels and stuff. It's not it's not coming from me all the time. So just check it out. Yeah, it's I just enjoy it. So if we get to meet, what's up? I'm Jamin, and let's see how I can help you.
Well, that is pretty cool to know that the help you give folks are these lines that you picked up on the other side, things that we don't have direct access to here. So thanks for picking it up and bringing it over here and sharing it. And it also, I like what you're doing here with the business model. It's like you're not giving them a fish, you're teaching them how to fish, right? Giving them the bait effectively, and then they go and fish and get the experience so that they can then go on with their life and continue to improve.
The funny thing is with me is some people don't like letting me go either. So I've had some clients for quite some time now, 8, 9 years. It's cool. It's there are people that are very loyal to it, but I really I really try to focus on just giving people the tools they need. One of the experiences in my very beginning when I started my business that I was experiencing was people were getting really attached to me, almost unhealthily attached, almost like I was like a drug for them. And I said to myself, okay, that's not good. So, some people would, and I had people at the time argue with me saying, well, it's a business and you're making money and that's how you should make money. Well, I didn't like that and I did it my way, and somehow business is always here. So I once again, I believe in how you define it, it shall be. And one of my main goals with people is just let's find the right tools and the right ways to get you. Once I understand you and kind of figure out your pattern, I have to see a pattern. Once I see that, then I'm like, okay, we just got to change this pattern. But it's a passion of mine. Helping people is constantly happening. I would say it's a lifestyle. The way I live is a lifestyle for sure.
I like it. Well, hey, and wrapping up, are there any final messages you'd like to share? Anything that didn't come out today, or some final sort of uplifting message you typically will share with the folks you train, the ones that come to you, or those that you speak to on podcasts?
I think I will end it with a prayer. I'm going to take this time right now to just say thank you to God, thank you to the universe, thank you for our angels, thank you for whoever's out there, thank you for continuing to put me on this path where I have another opportunity to talk to people. Thank you for Brad. Continue to take care of Brad and his family and anyone that he touches in his life. Allow him to be an instrument of peace and to help inspire people through his channel. Continue to help grow his channel. And once again, whoever his family is, may they all grow and prosper in the ways that they need to. For anyone who is watching this, may you grow and prosper in every way that is needed. May you continue to find the answers to your questions. May you continue to find yourself in situations where you are aware of who you are and know what to do, and find the love in your heart to look at yourself and smile. Once again, this is a day we'll never see again and a moment we'll never share again. So we say thank you, and here we are. It's good to be alive.
It's good to be alive. I like that phrase. Well, Jamin, your life is a story of transformation, from the ring to the realms and beyond, right? From fear to fierce presence, from shadow to light. All these transformations are amazing. So you've reminded us that what we believe comes from what we experience, and that the path inward reveals the power we've had all along. So, Jamin, man, I just want to thank you so much.
Hey, let's do it again, Brad. Thank you. Thanks for your time, and thanks for reaching out to me. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it as well. Hey, so to our listeners, if Jamin's story moved you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and let us know in the comments. Oh, I love the comments. You leave those and we will get back to you as soon as possible. And if this episode spoke to your heart, share it with someone who you might think could use a little light today. And until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and go beyond the illusion to discover your true self. Take care, everyone, and bye for now.
That was awesome. That was fun. Did I give you what you wanted? Did I fill your brain there?
I have no expectations in life. All I have is intentions and enthusiasm. And then whatever the world gives me, I have equanimity oozing out of every pore.
Yeah, I have a really strong sensation that you're going to be a top guy in this whole space. If you want it, I could feel it. There's a energy to you that feels really good. there's a professionalism there that I have not seen yet in all of the conversations I've had about this. You just have a completely different, I don't know, man. You got a really cool thing going, and I hope you continue to do it because I think you really got something cool, Brad.